The benefit of technology cannot be overemphasized, but are we exposing our children and ourselves to too much of it? Co-founder, TechQuest Camp, Charles Imembolu shares his opinion on the role of technology in child development.
What do you think is the role of technology in the development of today's child?
Very important. It said that the children are the future. And it means that as a people, as a nation, as a continent, if we want to begin to take our future seriously, we need to take the African child more serious, but more importantly, in the area of technology. If the children, if the African child, if the Nigerian child, if our children, mine and yours, do not understand and appreciate technology, then we do not have, or they do not have a future, and as a result of that, the nation will suffer. It means that in every sphere, where you talk about medicine, where you talk about broadcasting, where you talk about financial services, when you talk about the oil and gas, all those spheres I've mentioned and more are driven greatly by technology. Talk about communication. We can't even talk or communicate anymore without having our phones, without using our laptops and our tablets. So the area of child technology is an area that we take very seriously, and we think that everybody should enjoin to take that more serious.
A lot of parents and guardians will say that technology is actually a sort of distraction for the children. What's your take on that?
Well, I tend to disagree with you. It's a question of interest rather than distraction. What we call the digital natives include the future of every society today, which are the children. Okay, and if you bring that to perspective, you find out that the challenge is that the parents, the teachers, are not equipped well enough to cope with the interests of the children. For us, what we bring to the table is taking that interest and cultivating it in the right way, such that these kids are equipped for the future. If you talk about distraction and you see the way the kids pick up your tablets, your devices, and begin to use it begin to access it and go through different applications and games and other stuff, even things that adults do not know how to use, you can only begin to identify with the possibilities that exist therein. More importantly is the economic angle to it. Whereas as a business or as an organization, we do not look at the economic angle for today, we look at it against tomorrow. The area of technology, specifically information technology, is what can lead Nigeria very quickly out of the quagmire we find ourselves in today. If you begin to build technologies around oil and gas, if you begin to try to develop communication technology, video technology, it can take you inside of 25 years or more. But if for information technology, it is one area that you can develop, create a good foundation within 6 months. We teach children who have never accessed a computer to begin to program within 2 weeks. And we've had success, lots and lots of success stories. So I disagree with you on that point.
For these children that learn how to code, usually from what age, how old are they?
Kids have varying degrees of capability in terms of understanding and learning. If I were to say from ages 4 upwards, however, we restrict to cater to that varying degree of ability to adapt and adopt new things, we would say from the ages of 6. But we've had parents that have insisted on putting kids as young as 5 years old, and they've done very well. So from 5 and above, I would say.
A lot of our children learn computer studies or ICT studies in schools today. Do you think what they're learning is adequate enough to position them as the next Mark Zuckerberg or any other tech superstar?
That's the dilemma we find ourselves in. And that is, they've just hit the crux of why we decided to act. The technology teaching in Nigerian schools, we've been around. Between the private schools and the public schools, I don't want to use the word sham, but that's almost what it is. especially when you put it in context of what their peers in the global community are learning. Children today are still being taught about input devices, output devices as ICT, and this is taught to them across 6 years. And then they go into the secondary schools or the what they call, I think they've divided it into two, the JSS and the SSS, and they continue learning very similar things. Then all the way to the university, and they're learning programming languages that have gone extinct as far back as 20 years ago. So that in itself is the major problem. Nigeria, the African child, as far as Nigeria and West Africa at least are concerned, we are not prepared enough to take on the future. I do not see a Mark Zuckerberg coming out of Nigeria. However, some people are doing a lot of great stuff. People get exposed. You've seen a lot of Nigerians. I mean, on the news, we had a certain high percentage of Nigerians graduating from Howard University, nearing almost 30%. So we have that innate ability to reform ourselves. But when you bring into context of what is being taught in schools and then the outcome of somebody of caliber of Mark Zuckerberg, then I think we are not heading there.
So what do you think we should do at this point to change that?
It's said that it takes small drops to make an ocean. Everyone needs to join hands together, starting from the parents by encouraging the children to learn right, by enrolling the children in programs like ours, programs like TechQuest. A few of them are springing up, but we are doing too little. You know, in Nigeria today, you have over 170 children, out of which a lot of that are from 30, 35 years down. It means that more of those programs or the existing programs need to begin to grow. But more importantly is the role of the private sector and the government. The curriculum in the schools need to change. There needs to be a clear direction to changing the curriculum in the schools towards adapting to 21st century technology and beyond. That's one. Two is the syndrome where we tend to adapt everything foreign. There are huge IT or technology spenders in the country today. Very few of, even though more and more of them are beginning to adapt local technology, because that's how you begin to create that ecosystem that works. If the people that are trained, people that have the requisite skills, the self-trained ones or the very intelligent ones begin to play with technology systems and then get to a point where they build business systems out of it, and the businesses or the government begins to support by either buying these systems or contributing in the area of research and development for proper or better end systems, and having the belief that these systems will have to grow through the cycle to become better, then it makes a lot more sense. And that encourages the younger ones to begin to adapt, and it provides more value down the chain to reach more and more people. Some of the things we've done in that area, which is working, is that we've been talking and engaging the private sector, as well as the public sector for support to go more into the rural areas. In Lagos today, you don't seem to have, you have high availability of places to go if you really looked. As you begin to go towards the hinterland, as you begin to go towards the north, the southeast, the south-south, and other areas, those things begin to dwindle because you don't have the supporting systems. So we began to concentrate on teaching people from the public schools, and you can imagine the amount of intelligence we've come across. So gladly today we are doing at least 4 states, and it's more exciting. It's even more exciting because some of them have never seen computer systems before, and today they are beginning to see that. And as they see that and it becomes part of the culture, as they move from primary to secondary schools and to universities, those of them that have the direct interest begin to grow.
A program that teaches children how to code, how does it get funded?
We've had our challenges, we are still having them. At the same time, we've also had one or two corporate organizations come out and provide infrastructure. But in terms of the education proper, it's very difficult, very challenging, and most of the time on our part, self-sponsored. The fact is that as of date, we've trained we've had contact or some learning experience with nearly 1,000 Nigerian children, and less than 10% of that has received any form of funding whatsoever. We've had support, we've had encouragement, we've had people from the community try to support either by devoting their time or by putting out the word out there for us. But in terms of the real funding that can fuel and drive such change to increase the number, I mean, look at it, I'm talking about less than 1,000 people in a nation where we have how many thousands getting out of primary school every day across the nation. Some of them are learning about the ICT education you talked about earlier. Many are not. Actually, out of the 12 or so public schools where we engage today, only 3 have any form of ICT dedicated teacher. In a world today where you can do very little without ICT. So, in direct answer to your question, nearly non-existent. Maybe there are some things we can do better, but at the same time, the results are a bit appalling.
Technology accelerates and enriches basic skills. Students who have access to technology become more quickly engrossed in the material, and as such, are able to absorb the information more quickly.
How has TechQuest been able to teach the children how to code, and how fast do they learn?
I'll start from the last because that's the most interesting part. They grasp very quickly. They tend to grab everything that they're taught very, very fast, and they are open to new concepts. And if you know how programming works, it's teaching programming is kind of teaching in building blocks. So what you do is if they know how to do certain things, then it's left to their imagination what the outcome can be. So we don't try to restrict them. We just try to have the facilitators expose these children to the concept of developing something just with the skills and a little piece of equipment that we typically would call a computer today. Regarding how we engage, we use a lot of volunteers. We have very wonderful people interested in disseminating some of the knowledge they have acquired because they've come to understand or realize the importance of the knowledge and the skills. For some of them, they've gotten jobs, they've made money doing what they are doing, and is in the area of ICT, and they want to share. For others, it is also an exposure to meeting or doing something different. So we have a lot of volunteers on the system. We try to limit it to that. For the camps that we do, we collaborate a lot as well. So we have some people in the area of ICT education that come together with us, and we have quite a good experience and working relationship doing that.
But how would a child who doesn't have a computer or laptop at home, or who doesn't have constant power supply, learn how to program correctly over the long term?
Sincerely, it limits it's like learning a language. We call it programming languages. If you learn how to speak French at the age of 5 and you don't converse in French for the next 5 years, you probably lose the language. So it's a hindrance, but we are not giving up. Through collaboration with one of private companies that decided to deploy technology infrastructure to public schools, what we do is they deploy that infrastructure and we go in there utilizing the infrastructure as some sort of e-library or e-center to teach these kids. So even where they don't have it at home, they can come to school every day, even if it's once a week, 1 hour class, and keep on refreshing. Designed in inverter systems as part of the e-library, e-centers. So where we have a major challenge is if there's no form of national grid connected to the school. But once there's some sort of national grid and the inverter is fully charged, it can do as high as much as 24 hours autonomy. And 24 hours in a school that functions for an average of 6 6 active hours in a day can do you as about 3 days. So yes, that is one area. The second area is that it is important that this infrastructure, like I mentioned earlier, and I'll keep saying until someone hears, the area of the private companies and the public sector, which is the government, investing more in ICT infrastructure for the sake of the children and the future of this country.
Come to the end of today's show. Do follow us on social media, and don't forget you can watch these and previous editions of the show on the channel's TV YouTube account or via my blog techsmart.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwuemeka Agbata.